Hey everybody, this is Kelly Nielsen with Grace for Living After Loss. And on this channel, we discuss everything related to grief. What does it look like? What does it feel like? But most importantly, we share tips, tools, and resources on how to move through grief and get back to living a life that you love. So if you're looking for help with this journey, please be sure to subscribe to this channel and check out our other videos. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about grief journaling exercises and prompts. What are the specific things that you can do, and what are the specific prompts that you can use while journaling in order to process your grief and move through it? So that's what we're going to be sharing today. We have several exercises and prompts with you, and be sure to watch to the end because we'll be sharing some specific journals that you might want to use for this endeavor. Okay, let's get started. The biggest thing with journaling, especially if you're not a journaler already, if you haven't journaled before and you want to start journaling as part of your grief recovery process, is that it's very helpful for you to just become aware of your thoughts. For the most part, people are just thinking and they let their thoughts run rampant and they're not very connected to what they're thinking or what is going on with their body. So journaling can be a great tool for you to just become more self-aware and in touch and in tune with what you're thinking and how you're feeling. Now, it's best to journal once a day or twice a day, but at least once a day, and it's best to do it at the same time every day. So maybe you're a morning journaler and you want to take some time in the morning to think about and journal about how you want your day to go. Maybe you're an end of a day journaler. The time doesn't really matter as much. What's more helpful and important is to make it a part of your daily routine. Okay, so here are some of the specific ways that you can use it when you're recovering from grief. The first and most profound thing that you can do is to create for yourself some grounding statements, some affirmations or mantras, whatever you want to call them. If you would take time every morning to write down and read aloud some statements relating to your grief recovery journey. Whenever I'm working with folks, I always try to make sure that we want to make these statements in the present tense. We also want to make these statements helpful and healthy and truthful. So statements such as, I am recovering from grief and loss. Each day I grow closer and closer to being recovered. My loved one would want me to be happy, and every day I am learning how to be happy again. Things like that, whatever is true for you, if you can come up with a handful of sentences that really feel affirming to you and really are present tense and action oriented. Another trick with this is if you can make them that you are recovering. Instead of saying, one day I will recover from this, instead if you can say, each day I am recovering more and more. That's present tense and that's action oriented. And what you're doing is you're actually giving your mind the instructions for how you want to live. You are telling your mind how it needs to process the day, how it needs to process this grief. If you will do this every day and stick with it for 63 days, it'll actually become an automatic habit. You will have effectively wired your brain for healing. It's so powerful. It's the biggest tool that we help people to do in our programs. And so if you can do that in your daily journaling, your healing will be massively, massively accelerated. But that's not the only way that you can use journaling in regards to grief and loss. Another way is to just literally write down your emotions. You know, scientists at UCLA have proven that when you label your emotions and when you write them down or speak them out loud, it actually decreases the intensity that you feel them. So again, just to get in touch again, become more aware of how you're feeling, to take some time to literally list out your emotions, to take time either in the morning or in the evening to think about how are you feeling and write that out. That can help lower the intensity of those feelings. It also can help you become more aware of what you're feeling and more capable to come up with strategies and tools on how to move through those emotions and process them in a healthy way. So that's number 2, is just literally writing down your emotions, writing out your emotions, okay? Exercise number 3, way that you could use journaling, is that you can use it as a place to speak to the person that you lost. If there are things that happen in your day that you want to share with them, use your journal. Have a dedicated journal where you can have conversations with your loved one. I know it sounds a little crazy, but there's no reason why you can't continue to share things that are going on in your life or in your heart to your loved one, and writing them out kind of like a letter to your loved one can be very therapeutic. It can feel very comforting. You can feel like still connected to them by doing that practice. So having a dedicated journal where you can just talk to your loved one. Another way you could apply this is if you have unanswered business with your loved one, if you left anything unresolved when they pass away, if there are things that you need to forgive them for, there are things that you need to ask for forgiveness, if there are questions that you need to ask them. Now, granted, we don't really expect an answer to come back, but just even having a place to write out those questions, write out those feelings, write out everything that you would have or wanted to say to them that maybe you didn't get a chance to say. Again, it does a lot of things neurologically speaking. When we have those unresolved questions and issues in our relationships, our brain tends to store those things and put them on a repeating loop. It's like a math equation that you can't solve, and it just keeps replaying in your head and replaying in your head like a broken record. And it's stealing energy from you, and it's actually hindering you from being able to move forward. So using a dedicated journal to just write all of those things out, say whatever you need to say, ask whatever you need to ask, have those conversations, even if they're one-sided, it will help you tremendously mentally to remove those blockages and be able to process the loss and move forward, okay? And then the last thing that we want to do is track our progress. You know, a journal is a great way for you to see how far you've come. If you start journaling right away, you know, grieving is meant to be a season and not a sentence. This is going to be a season of your life where you learn to recover from the loss and process through it. And it can be really helpful when you look back at those journal entries earlier in your grief recovery journey to see how far that you've come and to congratulate yourself for the progress that you've made. And it also sends signals to your brain that you are in fact recovering, that things are getting better, and that you are moving through it. So I know this was kind of a lot of information. That's about 5 different ways that you can use journaling to help process your loss and help to move forward in your grief recovery journey. Now, I did a little bit of research and I want to recommend a couple of specific journals. And the first one is going to be our journal. We actually created a journal. It's called a transitions journal, and it is moving forward on purpose, in purpose. And it isn't hugely structured. This is really a free form journal for you. It has the dates on the top, so you can just circle the month and date. And then it's filled with these encouraging quotes kind of throughout, sprinkled throughout the journal. So some pages are blank, some pages have quotes, and it's kind of a combination of scriptures and just encouraging statements to let you know that you can and will get through this and that there are brighter days ahead. So certainly, obviously, I'm a little biased, but this is my #1 recommendation for a grief journal. We will have the link below in the description. And then I do have, and I don't have physical ones with me, but I also listed 2 other journals for you. One is specific to grief and loss, and it has some questions built in there for you. So if you're the type of person that just really is at a loss and you don't know where to begin and you want some prompts and some questions for you to answer, we have a link to a journal that provides that below. And then I also just provided another journal that's just a free form blank journal. So if the idea of sifting through all the pages on Amazon and trying to find a journal that tickles your fancy is overwhelming to you, I put 3 examples below of journals that might be helpful for you in journaling.